Hi, my name is Brett Johnson. I'm a systems engineer at Tech Data supporting Veritas Technologies. In this video, we're going to discuss the integration between Backup Exec 16 and Azure Cloud Storage. Before we begin talking about Azure Cloud Storage and Backup Exec, I want to make note that Backup Exec 16 was released on November 7th, 2016, and is the first major release of the product under Veritas since the split from Symantec. The main new features of BE16 include the Veritas rebranding of the software, which you're looking at here, full support for Microsoft Windows 2016, which also just came out not too long ago in October, as well as support for the different ecosystem of Microsoft 2016 applications, including Exchange, SQL, and SharePoint. The BE Cloud Connector now, of course, supports Azure Storage to use as a backup target and ability to restore data directly from Azure, which we'll dive in deeper here in a moment. And although this was released in Feature Pack 5 of Backup Exec 15, just a few months prior to the release of BE16, I want to make note of instant recovery of Hyper-V and VMware virtual machines, right? So in the event a virtual machine isn't functioning, instant recovery allows you to run and access a virtual machine directly from the backup storage. This helps minimize downtime of those critical VMs and makes them accessible before going through a normal restore process. For more details on this, take a look at our other videos on instant recovery for VMware and Hyper-V. So that's a quick overview of what's new for Backup Exec 16. Now, in talking further about the cloud, right, in general, cloud backups are becoming more and more popular, especially in the SMB space where it's the easiest and perhaps the most cost-effective way a business can, back up its data to an offsite location. Some companies are solely backing up to the cloud, while others are using it as a secondary storage location. Either way, it's best practice when designing a data protection plan to be storing data in an offsite location, and the cloud is a great way to achieve this. Previously, Backup Exec supported any S3 capable cloud provider, and now of course has support for Microsoft Azure. So let's take a closer look at Azure and Backup Exec 16. Now, before we can add Azure storage to Backup Exec, there are some prerequisites to follow as it relates to setting up the storage within the Azure portal. Now, as seen here, I've already gone through and configured the Azure storage, but keep in mind the following. First, you must of course have an Azure account and obtain the Azure storage account and at least one storage access key. Next, you'll have to create blob storage containers for the storage account. As a best practice, you should create specific containers which are used exclusively with Backup Exec. You'll also want to ensure that the container names meet the Backup Exec naming requirements, which can consist of lowercase letters, numbers, and dashes. If the container name does not follow this naming convention, then the containers will not be available for use with Backup Exec. Finally, you'll want to review the list of supported regions, which can be found in the Backup Exec 16 Hardware Compatibility Guide. So once you have your cloud storage configured properly, we can now add the storage to Backup Exec. We do this by clicking on the Storage tab, seen here. We click on Configure Storage. We select which Backup Exec media server we want to use. We select Network Storage, Cloud Storage, and we can give this cloud storage a name. In this case, we're going to use Azure 1 as our cloud storage name. Click Next. We select Azure. And for server name, we are going to use Azure:azure.com, and we'll need to create a logon account as well. So we click the Add Edit button, click Add. Now, in the username field, you're going to type the Azure Storage username, which you've already created when you're configuring the storage within the portal. In this case, mine is BE16TD. The password is going to be the storage account access key, which can be found in the portal as well. You can either type this in, or in my case, I'm just going to paste this. And you can either leave the account name the same. I'm going to change mine so it's a little bit easier, and I'm going to call it Azure account. Click OK. Click Next. And as Backup Exec is connecting to Azure, it's going to pull down a list of all the available storage containers. In this case, I only have the one BE16 container 1 available, so I'm going to keep that one selected. I pick Next. Here I can configure how many concurrent operations you want to be accessing the cloud storage. The default is 2, so we're going to keep it at 2. Click Next. And finally, you can review your selections, and then we can finish. And it's going to ask that Backup Exec restart its services. And we click Next. Now that the Backup Exec services have restarted, we now see our Azure cloud storage in the list of available storage targets for backup jobs to use. Now, configuring a backup job to use cloud storage is the same as configuring any other backup job. So we select our Backup and Restore tab. We select the server that we want to back up. We select Backup. And you'll see in the drop-down we now have a couple new options. We can back up to local storage and then duplicate that backup set to the cloud location. Or if we want to back up directly to the cloud as the initial target, we simply select Backup to Disk. We select Edit the Backup Properties. We select Storage. Use the drop-down and simply select Azure 1 as our primary storage location for this particular backup job. Now, while Azure doesn't require encryption, it is still best practice to encrypt your backup sitting at rest in the cloud. So to do so, simply select the encryption type. We're going to select Software, and we're going to select one of our available encryption keys. And last but not least, restores are handled in the same manner as any other type of restore within Backup Exec. Simply select the server that needs to have data restored. Select the Restore button and continue on through the Restore wizard. Hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions, please contact the Veritas team at Tech Data.